Swifters, dig if you will the picture that's about to be saved to cloud storage for Firebase. In part 7 of the Hackathon app, we're going to learn how to save an image to Firebase storage. We're going to create a unique identifier, a UUID, to name a cloud storage file. Then we'll save the UUID to the Cloud Firestore database so that we can easily find this image in our storage. Let's code. So far in this app, we've been using the Cloud Firestore database. This is the tool to use when you want to save text and numbers. But if you want to save large blocks of data, images, audio, or video, then you want to use Firebase storage, or I guess Google now refers to this as cloud storage for Firebase. Now this is how the structure of our app is going to work. Firebase storage saves file in what's called a bucket. They use a folder icon for buckets in the console, so if it helps for you to think about buckets as folders, go ahead and do that. Now you have to name each bucket. So we'll create a bucket for each team and give that bucket the same name as the document ID. So this way, if this document ID representing the Baldwin's Byte Hackathon team is document ID starting with X0VM, then the image for this team will be in the bucket starting with X0VM. So that's the document ID. We'll also use that document ID for the name of our bucket or this folder inside of cloud storage for Firebase. Now we're only saving one image per team, but you could imagine returning to the app to allow a team to save multiple images for their project. So by creating a bucket for each team, we will allow each team to potentially have multiple files inside. We're not going to really take advantage of that in our demo app. We'll just have one file per team and one file for each bucket or folder, but know that you could go back and add more images if you want to improve the app in the future. Saving multiple images per document is a typical scenario. You see this in Snacktacular when we allow multiple images for a particular place or restaurant, so that's why we added the extra bucket and then image name inside. It's more common, we're just reviewing how to do that. Now instead of naming our files the same name as the bucket, we want to give each file a unique name. Again, this will allow us to add multiple files for each single team. And now we'll get the unique name by creating what's called a UUID. UUID stands for Universally Unique Identifier, and it's a unique non-repeatable number, so we can actually ask Swift to generate this for us. We'll save the UUID as part of our team document data, then we'll use this as the name of the image, saved in the bucket or folder for a team. Then in the next video, when we want to read in our image, we'll read in the document for the selected team, find the UUID for the image, go to the team's storage bucket, their little folder, then find the file with the UUID inside of storage, read that image in, and then display it in our app. So the first thing that we're going to do is update our team class with two new properties. AppImageUUID, which is a unique identifier for the file, and that's going to be a string, and AppImage, which holds the team image in memory when it's displayed in our team detail table view controller. Now not only will we add these two properties to our team class, we also need to update the initializer, the convenience initializers, and the dictionary value to account for the fact that the class now has these new properties. Let's code it up. So I'm in team.swift, and I'm going to add these two new properties right after my project description property. So I'll say var appimage UIimage, and then var appimage UUID string. Then let's scroll down to our default initializer. That's the one that starts with just init, not convenience init. And right after project description string comma, right after that comma, I'm going to add the two new properties. So it's appimage UIimage is its type, comma, appimage UUID and string is its type. Make sure there's a comma separator at the end there too. Then inside the body of the initializer, just below where I set project description to self.projectDescription, I'll create a new line and say self.appimage equals appimage and self.appimage equals appimage. Class has two new properties, and the default initializer can now create objects with those two new properties. Now let's fix the convenience initializer that passes in no parameters. And so right after we have project description empty string comma, right after that comma, we'll say appimage UIimage open and close paren. So that'll pass in an image which essentially has nothing in it, comma, appimage UUID empty string. Make sure there's the comma separator at the end there too before created on. Now let's fix this convenience initializer that takes in a dictionary and creates a new team object. So I'm going to highlight my line that says let project description here because that's a string. I'm going to copy it, use that as my template. So I'll paste it right below. And in this line that I just pasted, I'll say let appimage UUID And then inside the dictionary, that string should also read app image UUID. Now remember the purpose of this. So when we read the individual team documents, we get a dictionary back from Cloud Firestore. That's the database. Now the database doesn't have our image, so that's why we don't have an image in here. We just have the app image UUID, which is the name of the file that holds that image. And that file is going to be in Firebase storage, not the Cloud Firestore database. Now down below, we still have to initialize an image, but what we'll do is we'll pass in an empty image. So in the call to default initializer down here in self.init, right after project description, we'll say, comma, app image, colon, UI image, open and close parens, again, sending in an image that's got nothing inside of it. When we write our load data code, we'll show you how we put data in here. And then after that, we say, comma, app image UUID, colon, app image UUID, and make sure there's a comma before created on. Now we also need to fix our dictionary computed property. Remember, this gets called when we create the data to save, a dictionary to save out to the Cloud Firestore database, and we're not saving our image here, so we don't need to create a key for app image as part of the dictionary, but we will have an app image UUID. So right after a project description, comma, we'll say in double quotes, app image UUID, colon, app image UUID, comma. Solid. So our team.swift class is all updated with our new properties. Let's head back over to our Firebase console. Make sure that you're in your Hackathon project. And what we want to click on now is storage over here on the left-hand side. Now when you do that, since I'm assuming you haven't created any storage for your Hackathon project yet, you need to click on Get Started. Cloud Storage is going to set up some authentication rules for us, and the default rules are going to be fine, so we can just click on Next. Then you can just click on Done. You'll see a little whirring indicator while everything is getting set up. And then you're on the storage screen. There's nothing on the storage screen, but if we take a look at rules, we see the default down here will allow read and write if the request.auth is not equal to null. So that means that anybody that's logged into our app will have permission to read and write to cloud storage for Firebase. So now let's click back on the Files tab up here. We don't see any buckets or little folder icons in here, but that'll change in just a minute when we start to save. Let's head back to team.swift and code up a method to save an image. And we'll do this just before the closing curly in the class. We'll say func, save image, open parens, and we'll have an escaping closure, so we'll say completed colon at escaping, and we're going to pass a boolean into the escaping closure. So this is going to indicate whether or not we've successfully saved our image. Remember this, because when we write our completed flag in our code, we're actually going to have a true or a false in between parentheses following completed. And in order to do that, we need to specify we're going to pass a boolean into our trailing closure. So we'll say open parens, bool, close parens, arrow, and then just open and close parens afterward. Then open and close curlies. In this function, we're going to be saving data to the Firestore database as well as cloud storage. So we need to create an instance pointing to both our apps database and our app storage. And we do that with these two statements. So in the first one, we say let db equals capital Firestore dot Firestore, open and close parens. So db points to our apps database. And in the second, we say let storage equals capital storage dot lowercase storage, open and close parens. Now in the next line, I'm going to put in a comment that says convert app image to a data type so that it can be saved by Firebase storage. That's because Firebase storage doesn't support the Apple native type of UI image. So we'll just take UI image and convert it to raw data. And we do that in the next statement. We'll say guard let image to save. So that's our constant that's going to hold our data. And that's going to be converted from self dot app image, and there's a method we can call on app image to do the conversion. Now that's .jpeg data. Look at the code completion that comes up here. It says it returns a data object containing the specified image in JPEG format. So even though UI image is an Apple proprietary format, we can take what's inside of that, convert it to a JPEG, then stuff this JPEG value into a value of type data, and we can save that out to Google Cloud Storage. Now we can also specify how much we want the image to be compressed, and since the image is probably an app screenshot shown inside of the app, it doesn't need to be full quality, so I'll compress this at 0.5 or 50%. Compressing when you're able to is a good idea because that will use less cloud storage, and it'll also improve save and load speed. Then we'll say else, open and close curlies, and this is going to be our fail case if we generate a nil and we can't get JPEG data out of our app image. So we'll say first print, error, could not convert image to data format, angry emoji, and underneath that, return. Now next, we're going to create metadata, and metadata is just data that describes data. So we're going to add this, and even though it's optional, what it will do is it will tell Cloud Storage that this file is an image in the JPEG format, and what's cool about this is this will allow our console in the browser to show a little preview thumbnail of the image that was uploaded. So this is really nice, it really helps in debugging, helps give you the peace of mind to know, hey, my stuff is working. So to do this, we'll say let upload metadata. That's the constant that will hold our metadata. And we'll start typing in storage here, and we want to create storage metadata. And code completion says this class represents the metadata of an object in Firebase storage. Yep, that's what we want, so press return. Then open and close curlies. That'll create an empty metadata object. And then on the next line, we'll set this object's content type. So we'll say upload metadata dot content type equals, and in between quotes, all lowercase, image/JPEG. Now under this, we're going to check the app image UUID property. So if we don't have a UUID, that means that we've never saved an image before, so we want to create one. So first, let's check to see if our UUID property has a value in it. If app image UUID equals empty string, open and close curlies. Then in comments, if there's no UUID, then let's create one. So we'll say app image UUID equals, and then creating one of these guaranteed to be unique numbers is super easy. We just say in all caps UUID, open and close parens, and then dot in lowercase UUID string. So next, and I'll write this in a comment, we're going to create a reference to upload the storage with the UUID that we created. So that's going to be its file name. So we'll say let storage ref equals lowercase storage, remember that points to our app storage in the cloud, dot reference, open and close parens, dot child, open parens, inside we'll say document ID. How come? Document ID is the name of the document in the database that holds team information. But here we're talking about Firebase storage, but we're going to use the same name, that same document ID, to refer to the bucket or that little folder icon in storage that will hold the image named app image UUID. So that's why right here at the end we say dot child, and then inside the parens self.appImage UUID. So what are we doing here? Again, we're creating just a storage reference is a path inside of storage, inside the little folder named document ID. We're going to name a file app image UUID. Then we'll use the storage ref to set up an upload task. So we'll say let upload task equals storage ref dot, and I'll start to type in put, and I get a bunch of different options in here to put data. You want to select this one that's got the upload data, the metadata, and a completion handler afterward. And code completion says asynchronously uploads data to the current specified Firebase storage reference. Don't worry about this bit, not recommended for large files. Our file is considered relatively small. It's not a video file. So press return to accept this. Our upload data parameter is going to be image to save. Our metadata parameter is going to be upload metadata. I'm going to double click on the completion handler here so that I get the trailing closure style that I like so much. And for the two values passed back, I'll name them metadata and error. Down below we'll handle the error, so we'll say guard error equals nil, else, open and close parens. That means we've got an error. We'll say print, and why don't I just copy angry emoji error colon from up top here, paste it down below. And the rest of my statement should be during .put data storage upload for reference string interp storage ref, and then I'll say error equals string interp, and that'll be error dot localized description. And Xcode adds a question mark after error, and return. Error handled. Now if the guard lets us pass, that means we don't have an error. That means everything works. So we'll just say print upload worked, metadata is string interp metadata, and we'll put cool emoji up front. Now, if we've successfully saved our image at this point, then we're going to resave our document information. How come? Because this might be the first time that we've saved an image, and if so, we've got to update our database because we've got a new app image UUID that we just created. So to do this, what we're going to do is we're going to call what's referred to as an observe method on our upload task. And we'll look to observe the success of saving data to cloud storage. And if we're successful in saving data to storage, then we want to resave with our new app image UUID to the database. We'll say upload task dot observe. You want to select this option here that's got the storage task status and a handler. And notice what code completion says. It says it observes changes to the upload status. Resume, pause, progress. We could deal with all those, but we're going to ignore them. We're just going to deal with success or failure. So press return to accept this. For the status, we'll say dot success. For the handler, double click on that to get the trailing closure format that I like so much. Now we're going to pass back what's called a storage task snapshot. We'll just call that snapshot. Then we're going to repeat some steps that we used in save data. So we're going to create the dictionary representing the data that we want to save. We'll say let data to save equals self.dictionary. Then we'll say let ref equals db.collection. Remember, our collection is in double quotes, teams. Then we'll say .document, passing in the doc ID as self.documentID. And now with the ref set up, we can say ref.set, and you'll see a bunch of different set datas in here. You want to select the one that's got the document data, passing in the dictionary, and it's got the completion handler. And again, look what it says in code completion, overwrites the document referred to by the document reference, and if no document exists, it's created. And if a document already exists with that reference, it will overwrite it. That's totally cool. We want that. Press return. Our dictionary is data to save. Double click on the completion handler. It gives us trailing closure syntax. Yippee! Why don't we call our optional error just error, and we'll handle the error by saying if let error equals error, open and close curlies, print, then in double quotes we'll say error colon saving document string interp self.documentID in success observer. And we should include the error. So error equals string interp error.localize description. Now, if we don't have success, we're going to pass back a false on our completion handler, and the way that we do that is to say completed, which is our completion flag, followed by false in parentheses. And we should have done that earlier when we have our return statement for getting the earlier error. So I'm just going to copy this completed false, and I'm going to paste it right after the return statement. And we missed one more just above this too, in this guard let statement where we get the error when we can't convert the image to the data format. So let's just paste it in after that return. And now we're good. Then let's finish this if statement. So we'll say else, open and close curlies, and if our error was nil, then we're down here in the else, and we'll just print out document updated with ref ID, string interp, ref.documentID, and we'll put thumbs up emoji in there. And I should follow this with completed true, because we just confirmed our success in our save image function, so we want to pass back a bool which is true. This is going to be received by the completion handler, the little set of curlies that executes after we're going to call save image, and that'll just indicate that the save was successful. If we print the error up here, I notice we've got a warning. All that would do is it would print optional wrapped around whatever error warning we got, but we can silence that with 2 question marks, and then I'm just going to put unknown error afterward. We've got another warning when we're going to print out our successful indicator for the metadata working. I'm just going to ignore that though. So we handle the case if our upload task was successful. Just below that, we'll deal with the possibility of failure, something that I hope that you never see in your app. The correct spot for this is just under the upload task success block. You know you're in the right place if you see 2 curlies left just below the area where we're going to begin typing. And here we'll say upload task dot start typing observe, and you want to select this option here that's got a storage task status and a handler. With this highlighted, press return. Now for our status, just press period. We see the different options in there, and we're going to deal with failures. So select that and press return. Double click on the completion handler to get the trailing closure syntax. Let's call our storage task snapshot, just like we did above. Then inside we'll say if let error equals snapshot.error, open and close curlies, print, error, string interp, error localized description, upload task for file, string interp, self.app image UUID. And if this is what we get down below, we'll just return completed false. Now to finish things up, let's head over to our team detail table view controller. And we're going to modify our save button pressed action so it now saves an image. So if we have success in our call to save data, which saves data to the Cloud Firestore database, then we'll call save image. So right inside of the if success block here, we'll say self.team.save image and double click on the completion handler. The bool it passes in, we'll call that success. And down below, we'll say if not success, meaning if we're not successful. So that's exclamation point success, no space in between them. Open and close curlies. Then we'll print warning, could not save image with warning emoji. Now the reason I'm putting warning up here is this message will show if we didn't add any image, and we still want the user to be able to save a record even if they don't add an image of their app. But if there is no image that was added to the app, you'll just see this warning message. But again, just go ahead and ignore it if you didn't add an image. Then regardless of what happens here, I'm going to go ahead and leave the view controller. So I'm going to cut it out from down here, and I'm going to make sure that it's inside of my completion handler for save image. Now do know that our code could have been written a little bit more efficiently. We could have written a single method to save data and image in one call. Also inside of save image, we make another call back to save data to update our app image UUID. that extra call isn't very taxing in our database, and it's not noticeable, and it let us reuse most of the code that we wrote in our original save data method from our earlier Snacktacular app, so that's why we made this architecture choice. You can go back and refactor later if you like, but this code will work great. It was fast to code, we were able to use code that we knew that we'd already debugged and had working, so there shouldn't be any problems with this approach. So now let's scroll to the top of our code and remove our old var app image property. We had a to-do in there saying that we had to move this to team, and we moved this to team earlier in the video. Then to make sure that I change this in all the right places, I'll Command F to find app image and press return, and I can see down here in image picker controller, I've got that listed a bunch of times. So I'll just change any reference to the app image property to team.appimage. That's here assigning edited image to it, and down here assigning original image to it. And then down here in the completion handler for dismiss, we'll pass into our image view self.team.appimage. And we're looking good. So now I can close up my find and I'll go ahead and build and run. So I'm going to click on Baldwin's Bite, click on our camera icon, click Photo Library, select an image from the photo library. This looks good. Click on Save. No errors in our console. Everything's looking good. Now let's head over to our Firebase console on the web, and I don't see any changes in storage, but I've just got to refresh this browser window, and I can see, hey, there is my bucket. It has a little folder icon next to it. That name is the same name as the document ID inside our database for Baldwin's Bite. Let's click that, and we see a little icon image and a really long number here. This is our app image UUID that we generated in our code. Let's click this. And hey, we see our image over here on the right. It is saved to the cloud. The type is listed as image JPEG. That's the metadata that allows this to show up in our browser. Looks like it's saved. And just to see how storage and database relate, we can go and click on database. We can see that we've got a list of documents. One of these documents has the same name as our storage bucket. If we click that, yep, that's the document for Baldwin's Bite. And we can see up here in our different fields, we've got an app image UUID, which is the same number as the document that was saved inside of that storage bucket for Baldwin's Bite. Now that we've saved an image to storage, in the next video we'll learn how we can load from storage. Keep at it, Swifter.